Like father, like son. The apple doesn't fall far away from the tree. Whatever cliché saying you want to choose, the fact of the matter is, there weren't too many NBA players whose father had also played in the league. There have been less than 100 father-son duos in the entire 70-year-old history of the NBA. And in this video, we picked the greatest NBA father-son duos ever. Steph and Del Curry. Before he was more known as Steph's father, when he played for the Hornets, Del Curry was a guy with the prettiest jump shot in the NBA. Del fired threes from 30 feet with a simple flick of the wrist, and his points always seemed effortless. And he looked like he never strains too much on the court. The same can be said about Steph, whose game is often dubbed Steffortless by Kenny Smith. Steph was born at the beginning of his father's career, and Del always brought him to the arena, and Steph basically grew up in the NBA. However, nobody thought that Del's son would make it to the league because of a lack of size. On the way to the very top of the NBA league, Steph constantly had to overcome prejudices. First, he was out of position, a shooting guard trapped in the body of a playmaker. Then they said Davidson's success wouldn't translate to the NBA, and that he was too physically weak for top-level competition. After that, naysayers were saying he was too prone to injury, and then that he plays with more style than substance. Nowadays, people who have played the NBA or closely follow basketball all say one thing: a player like this has never existed before. The efficiency Curry possesses, considering the distance from which he shoots and the way he shoots, is uncanny. That skinny kid who played out of position and had questionable defense grew into the best shooter in the game's history. Two-time NBA MVP, and will always be remembered for changing basketball forever. Del and Steph could soon be the greatest scoring father-son duo in the NBA, and get past Kobe and Joe Bryant. Michael and Klay Thompson. Unlike Del and Steph, this father-son combo was not similar in size and style of play. Michael Thompson was a 6'10" center for the Lakers, and his game did not extend outside the post. His son Klay grew a bit shorter, and into one of the most lethal shooters ever. The other Splash brother broke the NBA record in three-pointers made this season, and had never had a season below 40% from three. Like his father, who had won 2 championships with the Lakers, Klay added 3 more rings to the Thompson family trophy cabinet, and they are one of the 4 father-son duos who have both won an NBA championship. Joe and Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant was probably the most skilled and most tactical NBA player ever, and it was his destiny to be great at basketball. Basketball was in his blood, as his father Joe Jellybean Bryant was the player for the Philadelphia 76ers, where Kobe was born. Joe was a role player, and to play basketball in his 30s, he had to go overseas and move to Italy. Not knowing the language and being an only black kid, Kobe felt alienated in Italy. But that's what started to burn the fire. Insane competitiveness and unmatched work ethic brought him to the NBA at the age of 18, where he didn't back down from anybody and was bold enough to stand up to Shaq as a rookie. Kobe made no secret that his inspiration was Michael Jordan. And as much as that comparison was too often thrown around because there were at least 10 new Jordans, Kobe really was the new Jordan. Not only because no one was more like MJ in terms of playing, but also because he was a world-class global superstar. And just like Mike, Kobe also had the utmost respect from his peers, rivals, and fans, even the ones who hated him. And perhaps most importantly, he was similar to Jordan in regards to how many players he inspired. Kobe Bryant was the essence of basketball. He and his dad Joe are the best scoring father-son duo in NBA history, with Kobe carrying much of that scoring load, just like he did his entire career. Bill and Luke Walton. Bill Walton was one of the best centers that ever played in the NBA, even though he was on the injured list most of the time. Walton Sr. had an illustrious NCAA career that could only be matched by Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. When he came to the NBA, he won 2 rings, one as a still relatively healthy superstar with the Blazers, and another as a role player for the Celtics. His son Luke was not nearly as talented, and was a role player his entire career. Luke had much more luck staying on the court, and like his dad, he also got 2 rings, as a member of the 2009 and 2010 Lakers. Jimmy Walker and Jalen Rose. Although they never met in person, Jimmy Walker and Jalen Rose were among the best father-son duos ever. Jimmy Walker was the #1 overall pick and a two-time All-Star for Detroit in the 70s. And that's where he met Jean Rose and became a father of Jalen. He decided not to be in the boy's life, which left a burning desire in young Jalen, who wanted to do anything in his power to become an NBA player like his dad and prove him wrong for leaving him and his mother. He inherited Walker's genes and grew to 6'8" and became a star in high school, college, and the NBA. First Jordan, and then Shaq and Kobe denied Rose of an NBA championship. But what he didn't achieve on the floor, he achieved off it, as Jalen became one of the most respected NBA analysts in the world. His father tried to reconcile with Rose on several occasions, but Jalen didn't want to hear of it. Only on his father's deathbed, they spoke on the phone for the first time. But Walker passed away before they could meet in person. Jalen did attend his funeral and gave a speech. Rick and Brent Berry. Rick and Brent Berry became the first father-son duo to both win an NBA championship, a feat that would later be accomplished by the Waltons, Thompsons, and McAdoos. Rick did it as a star player for the Golden State Warriors in 1975, while Brent won 2 rings as a bench player for the Spurs in 2005 and 2007. Rick was a high-scoring forward with one of the weirdest free throw shooting forms ever. It was unusual, but effective, as Rick led the league in free throw percentage 6 times with his underhand shot. He was also a scoring champion and an 8-time NBA All-Star. Brent Berry's career is much less trophied, but he did win a dunk contest back in 1996, and the trophy now serves him as a bowl for chips, which is pretty fly for a white guy. Tim Hardaway Jr. and Sr. Tim Hardaway gave his son his name, and while Jr. is a decent player in his own regard, he still hasn't reached the stardom of his father. Tim Hardaway Sr. was one of the best NBA guards in the 90s, with 5 All-Star appearances and countless broken ankles. Hardaway was most famous for his quick crossover, one of the deadliest dribble moves in NBA history. He was also a member of one of the most memorable Big Threes of that era, the infamous run TMC, which featured him, Mitch Richmond, and Chris Mullin. Hardaway Jr. came to the NBA as a highly touted prospect, and while he did show glimpses of star potential, it never fully materialized. However, Tim Jr. is now playing better than ever for the Mavs, and has turned into a very good 3-and-D player, which is one of the most wanted skills in modern basketball. Stan and Kevin Love. Stan Love was an NBA power forward standing at 6'10", just like his much more famous son Kevin. Stan's 4-year stint in the NBA was not as successful as his son's, and he averaged a modest 6 points and 4 rebounds per game in the early 70s, as a member of the Baltimore Bullets and then the Lakers. His son had eclipsed his output pretty early. A standout college player for UCLA, Kevin needed just 1 season to adjust to the NBA, and he soon became one of the best power forwards in basketball. He became an All-Star and league's best rebounder with the Timberwolves, and then helped LeBron to win his 3rd title in Cleveland, with one of the most memorable defensive possessions in recent NBA history. Larry Nance and Larry Nance Jr. Just like most of the pairings on this list, this father-son duo features an all-star and a role player. In this case, the senior Nance was the 3-time all-star, and he is most remembered as a Cleveland Cavalier who retired his jersey. After his son Larry Nance Jr. got traded to Cleveland in 2016, the Cavs unretired the number 22, but only for the junior to wear it. With a few memorable dunks that showcase the full wrath of the Nance family athleticism, Larry Jr. became a new fan favorite in Cleveland. He's not anywhere near his dad in terms of dominance on the court, but is still a quality role player that could play for years in Cleveland and keep the jersey unretired for quite some time. Arviddas and Domantas Sabonis. The only European father-son duo on the list comes from Lithuania. Arviddas Sabonis is a basketball legend, a 7'1" behemoth who was skilled beyond measure, and who did similar things on the court that Nikola Jokic does today. A bully in the paint and intelligent as a passer, Arviddas dominated European basketball for years, until finally moving to the NBA at the age of 31, after multiple injuries severely hampered his talent. If he came to the NBA sooner, he could have been remembered as one of the most dominant NBA centers. This way, his son Domantas has a chance to leave a bigger impact in the NBA, despite the fact he'll never be quite as good as his dad. However, Domantas has made a huge leap since he first came to the league, and is one of the best players on the young Pacers team. Like his dad, Domantas is dominant in the paint and is one of the most efficient NBA players,